should on themselves on a regular basis.
I know. Is that like me? Stacey D, what the hell you do that for? I don't know, self. Maybe I need to think about the reason why I did that for.
Actually, that would count. That's more insight oriented. That's more insight oriented psychotherapy. This is the therapy that comes after a person has gained insight. Then what do you do with that information?
What do you do with?
So we're gonna talk about that.
Well, JP and Stacy D about to tell you about it.
Yes. Okay. So we have that coming up, but before we get to that, let's do our check-in. D, what's been going on with the D? We talked about you last night, but go ahead.
Yeah, I did.
I'll get to that in my check-in.
On the podcast?
Yes, we did.
Oh, my God. I'm a super celebrity.
The D. I shared some of your wisdom.
Did you share my wisdom? Okay, I just want to give a shout out to my nephew, Taiwan, and Bonnie Lee for getting happily married on Saturday. That was most definitely, it was just making me understand the reason why I'm going to do it again. I love the wedding.
D, how many weddings have you had? Because you're about to catch up with my sister.
It'll be number 4. But this one here,
getting real close to my sister Steph.
the next wedding, it's going to be on the island. We're going to do it on the island. And because on my last wedding, I only invited 100 people. Because I wanted the people that were most definitely the closest of closest to me. So.
Who's the groom?
We still working on that.
Oh my Lord. I was like, how are you picking out wedding locations? Before?
Hawaii.
I need you to pick out the groom first.
It's going to be Hawaii. So I'm letting everybody understand. It's going to be Hawaii. I don't know, because, you know, I be having so much DMs. I be getting so many DMs. This platform here.
One of my clients talking about, I think I'm going to get with Stacy D. I said, the D be done punched you right in the center of your face. Because he's a hot mess.
But, yeah, I mean, I'm getting a lot of DMs. But I guess that's the new dating thing. But wait a minute. I didn't know it was a dating app on Facebook. We didn't know that one, huh? And that one was free.
I've heard people talking about dating on Facebook, but I thought they were just trolling and picking random people and hitting them up.
It's a whole Facebook app. Okay, and then let me ask a question. So, you know, my class had a social.
Why? What? Mr. Walker, go ahead, say it, D.
We had a.
No, say what you usually say about good help.
Good help is so hard to find. Ooh, Lord, I think we're really finna fire him. Okay?
I think we the only ones that hear that.
His 30-day notice. Really? Okay.
But Mr. Walker, the D has ADHD. You can't have extra echoes in her ear.
It takes me away. But okay, so my class had a little social. Well, I went to someone else's class and had a little social, and I think I'm too friendly, JP.
Really? What happened?
So if
that means you were flirtatious.
No, I wasn't. See, there's a difference.
Because that's what I'm thinking.
No, there's a difference.
Okay.
At least in the D's eyes, there's a difference.
Oh, let's hear it then.
Okay. So you haven't seen a classmate in a long time.
All right.
And it's a male. And you give him a good hug. Because I just haven't seen him in a long time.
Pause. What's a good hug?
Let's demonstrate it.
Because a hug, we can't demonstrate, D. We got everything.
Okay, you turn around. My booty out. I know my booty will be out. Okay, we got to bend down. We're going to go on your side. We're going to go on your side.
What's a good hug?
Bend down.
Come back this way.
Oh, did anybody see this?
No, y'all got to come back this way.
Okay,
which way we got to go?
Come back.
Okay, hold on. The D's going to show me this hug.
Okay.
Show me, D.
Oh, friend!
Oh, okay. That's a regular hug. Okay. D, that's a regular hug.
Okay,
because I was thinking.
No, I would do a side body hug in 2.2 seconds when I don't feel comfortable.
Okay, because I thought you was talking about a good hug where you hold them, you rub they back.
No.
Because that's flirting. That's flirting, D. But you wasn't doing that. Okay. So that's a regular hug. So go ahead.
So I gave him a good hug and was asking him, how you doing? How the kids are doing? Because mind you, I haven't seen him in probably about 15 years. And he lives in Dallas. So whenever I used to go to Dallas, when I used to have a suitor there, I used to always call him up like, hey, let's hang out, da, 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 da. So he was like, no, my wife done died and da, 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 the kids are grown. I'm just going to think. And I was like, let me see what I have to do. You still have the same number? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, right here. Oop. Did I say the name?
Yeah, but keep going because I don't think anybody caught it.
Okay. So I was like, yeah, you still got the same name. And we, so now it's like I'm getting all these good morning texts.
Oh, he's ready. His wife is dead. You hugged him. He's ready.
But I just was, we're classmates. I mean, because going to Washington, we were a very close-knit African-American
And he's
group.
trying to get close again. Yeah.
Not interested.
But the hug shouldn't have did it. But how long ago did the wife die?
Probably about 5-6 years ago.
What? She's been dead.
She's been dead.
He's been single ever since.
I think he done dibble and dabble on some things.
But he didn't get married.
No. And he's in the Fort Worth area also.
He's ready.
He's ready. And I don't know, do I just look like the picture perfect wife?
Well, I think everybody knows that the D believes in getting married. The D believes in marriage. So if he believes in marriage, because there are men who, I have male friends who basically don't believe in marriage. They're never getting married. It's never going to happen. But I do know other men who they're not even a good fit for marriage, but they have to have it. So they run through marriages. Okay. Even though they're not a good fit, they always cheat. They do all of that. They know that monogamy is not their thing. Okay. But they can't handle polyamory because a lot of times men, when it comes to polyamorous lifestyle, they're okay with them being able to have other women. Mm-hmm. But they cannot stomach the idea of the woman getting out and having other men or bringing men into the relationship. Because polyamorous can be a committed relationship amongst 3,
4, 5, 10, 15.
How many people you have in your, usually it's 3. But they're like, we not bringing a man into this. And so those men, they reject polyamory because they're like, no.
And then he's always trying to FaceTime me.
He's ready. He's a marriage guy. But here's the thing, D. One, do you like him?
As a friend.
Then why aren't you nipping it in the bud? Because if you haven't nipped it in the bud, you leading him on.
No, I'm trying to nip it in the bud. I don't respond when he says good morning.
You don't?
Mm-mm. And when he FaceTime me, I do not accept. And I'm like, just call me regular. Why you got to FaceTime me all the time? And, we have great conversations. We talk about everything. He's most definitely has a great career.
But he's in the friend zone.
He's in my friend zone. And he's not come out of the friend zone.
It's not happening. Mm-mm. He needs to accept that it's not happening.
Because one, I like tall men.
You probably need to have a conversation with him. Because if you don't have a direct conversation, it's just going to continue.
And he's coming to Kansas City on the 11th.
And then when you do finally have the conversation, he's going to be upset because he's going to be like, why didn't we have this conversation before? I've been
Well, he should have had the
you.
conversation. Shouldn't you have a conversation like, hey, I'm interested in you?
This is his way of having the conversation, pursuing you. Sometimes that's how people have the conversation is by showing you. Because, see, they can show you better than they can tell you.
I agree.
That's what he's doing.
Well,
he's showing you.
He haven't showed me anything on my Cash App.
Oh, D. Hold up. Speaking of your Cash App, our VIV, We got 2 VIVs.
Yes, we do.
You saw that text that your Cash App is ridiculous. And what she presented,
I did like that name.
that's a Cash App for somebody who's out handling business.
Yes, most definitely.
That's that's purely diva style.
I think I am going to change that name. I did like. I just haven't had time to change it.
You already talked about
Hopefully
your next husband, but your Cash App is still referencing your last husband.
I know, right? Okay.
Ain't no man trying to be bothered with that. Why would a man send money to a Cash App with that tag on?
They've been doing it.
They're not quality men, though, are they? Because you ain't with them.
But I accept their Cash Apps.
Okay, but a man with his head on straight. A man with his head on
Because
straight.
JP sure did have a comment about it, didn't he, everyone?
Yes, I did. A man with his head on straight would be like, I feel like a fool. I'm sending her money to a Cash App that's all about her marriage to her last husband. D,
What?
get another Cash App. You can have more than one. All right. Here's my check-in. Actually, I got 2 check-ins. One, we gave you a shout out last night on the podcast.
Oh,
okay?
really? Let me hear about it.
Yeah, we were talking about, well, it initially was about Kanye West and the ridiculousness of Kanye West.
He's retarded.
But what I ended up talking about is his narcissistic personality. And then I talked about how we covered it on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I pointed out that the D noted, because I was explaining to them that narcissistic personality disorder is in the same cluster as antisocial personality disorder, which is a sociopath. And I pointed out that as we were going through it, you pointed out that Donald Trump crossed the line. You all right, Mr. Walker? Mr. Walker missed his mouth. Is that hot coffee, Mr. Walker?
Okay. Now, who has ADHD today? Who has ADHD today?
Oh my God. I just had an ADHD moment. I thought he spilled hot coffee on himself.
Okay, let's get back on track.
Okay. And so you had pointed out that he crossed the line from being just a narcissist to being a sociopath because of his sex offenses, which was true. And so I was sharing that on the show. Lil John says something. Johnny Quick.
Johnny Quick.
Okay, because on the podcast.
We got to really bring Johnny Quick on the show.
He's Johnny Quick.
Johnny Quick.
He pointed out additional evidence stating that after I presented the definition of a sociopath, he said, well, then he's a sociopath also because when he sent an angry mob to kill.
You know, that almost had me crying.
Yeah, he sent them an angry mob, a homicidal mob on a mission.
On a mission.
Because wasn't they going to hang the vice president and do something to him? He was going to be dead. Okay. That was the act of a sociopath. Because although Charles Manson never actually killed anyone himself, he's considered a sociopath for being able to get other people to do it. And so when it comes to sociopathy, if you can convince people to kill for you, you still a sociopath.
Jim Jones.
So
Drink the Kool-Aid.
So I had to give it up to the D and shared some of the D's wisdom.
Yes.
All right. Here's my other check-in because we got time. I need to talk about, because last week we covered this. How did we word it? Old school versus new school parenting. And then for me, it was some Gerald and Nadine mess. And so let me know what this is. Okay, it's time to talk about boo-boo currency. My baby purchases toys with boo-boo. Let me explain. It's boo-boo currency. Okay, remember she was only half potty trained for a while. She'd pee in the potty, but she wouldn't boo-boo in the potty, right? Took her to the pediatrician. He talked about, and she's always had problems with constipation since she was a baby. And so he was like, it's due to the constipation, da-da-da-da-da-da. So we got her through it. But one of the things we did to get her through it is she gets a boo-boo potty toy when she craps in the potty, okay? Now, this is what this has turned into. Now she loves taking craps, okay? Because she knows she's going to get a new toy every single time. Every time she go to the potty, she try to push out some boo-boo. We have a breakfast room that we don't eat in, and now we can't because the table is
full of boo-boo currency toys.
Boo-boo potty toys for her to purchase. She's basically getting a new toy every day. Now, and then she pushes out a little bit more. She can't rack up 2-3 new toys every day. Is this new school, old school, or maybe some Gerald and Nadine mess?
I think that might be new school / Gerald and Nadine mess.
I think so too.
Yeah, it's in the middle.
What'd you think, Mr. Walker?
Yeah, I think like she said, it's new school, but y'all kind of really messed that up.
Boo-boo currency.
School.
Yeah, it occurred to me. Wait, what did the professor say?
Wait till she go to school.
And you know she has an over-the-top personality.
Already.
Something gonna happen.
Her first day at that
Dance.
the dance studio, because we're trying out that studio, Kim's kids studio and Rosalind's kids studio. My baby is so sociable, and modern kids are not all that sociable on that level that she is. She walked in the place talking about, my name is Sashi Boo. And she's like playing, when it was time to leave, she's like, bye everybody. And the kids were like,
Who is that?
when she said hi, all excited, hi, I'm Sashi Boo. The teacher had to tell the kids, okay, introduce yourselves, say hello, introduce yourselves. And we've noticed this not just there, but in general, when we go to places where there are kids are more standoffish and quiet. Even some kids in our family really are like that. As I think about it, there's some kids in the family who don't really communicate. They don't chat. And this is because of our modern society. We've talked about this before, that in therapy, I'm seeing a drastic increase in social anxiety disorder because kids live through the internet, technology, and they are losing those basic core social skills.
Basic skills.
And so when they are in a position where they are just expected to interact and talk and be conversational, they're like, they ain't got nothing to say. And so, like, we went to the orchard and Sashi's up, she's like right up in front of the stage, the live performers, and you know, they go around and ask all the kids, okay, what's your name? And she happily, I'm Sashi Boo, and that's my daddy, and that's my mommy. And other kids they could barely get a name out, the rest of the heathens there. And so I want everybody, parents, please, like, be aware of this. I understand technology can be a good babysitter because that's what it's about. It used to be
the TV with us, but now it's a whole nother.
It's on another level.
It's a whole nother level.
And the days of 4, 5, 9, 41, and 62, and channel 19, kids, they can get totally sucked into the internet. And really, if you think about it, adults can too. If I get on like TikTok or something, if I'm not careful, 2 hours will go by. Yes. Or even when you're just Googling something, because
you get something else
you get one article, and then under that article there's all these other articles, and you get to clicking and reading, hours can go by. So I can understand how the kids get sucked into it.
When I put a timer on myself.
That's a good idea.
Because it'll be 4 hours gone.
Because there's so much good stuff. That's a good idea.
But you have other things to do.
Yes. And so parents, put a timer. Parents should do this anyway. You need to put, there needs to be a certain amount of, what do they call it? Screen time.
Mm-hmm.
And do not allow your kids to spend 4, 5, 6 hours a day on that, because they need to be interacting. They need to actually go outside and play. All the kids are in the house. Ain't no kids outside to play with.
It sure isn't.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, we have a basketball goal, and I remember back in the day, I had to buy 2 basketball goals because the boys would basically have one on one side of the street and one on the other, and they'd be doing full court basketball.
So many kids playing.
Because so many kids playing. We had a spray can and put it on the ground for the free throw line. We have a basketball goal, and no one even comes over to try to play basketball.
Because they would rather play through a video game and play with other
NBA
kids
2K.
and play with kids all over the world.
All over the world.
And so
They can't even play real basketball. That's
No.
why college I used to really love watching I love basketball. But I used to really watch a lot of college basketball because those players used to play so hard because they're trying to get into the NBA.
True.
It's not that entertaining anymore.
No, kids ain't got time for that. They like, why would I be outside playing with these fools that I see at school every day when I can be in here on my toys having a good time with kids all over the world?
And believe it or not, they have actually have a degree now.
What?
It's a degree.
An internet degree?
An internet degree, basically making games and stuff.
Game design.
Yeah. Like that, yeah.
Game design playing them.
Is it playing them? I
What?
know it's one about
They can
designing
get
them.
what? And they can get paid for playing them? Game testing?
Esports. That was the name of the board.
Do
This
you
is
know how
getting
many
crazy.
kids are going to be trying to enter that profession? It's going to be oversaturated.
And nobody's going to work the other jobs.
Because I mentioned on the show before, I had a kid who flunked out of an Ivy League school because he became addicted to video games, and he was missing. I can't remember if it was like Harvard or Yale. He went weeks without going to class. He was just in his room
They
playing
do that.
video games.
They do that.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Not eating or drinking. They're drinking the energy shakes and energy drinks
To stay up
to stay up
and play.
and play against people, like you said, all around the world.
I ain't played since Atari.
And that was terrible.
And that's 2600, not 52.
Mm-hmm.
Those of you who are old enough to know what the hell I'm talking about are like, oh no, is he serious? We never upgraded to 5200. I was over it. My sister Stephanie, now, and she old. She was older than me. She's 8 years older than me. She played video games more than me. You know, you had to go to the actual arcade to play like Miss Pac-Man and what was it, Mr.
Quarter.
Pac-Man? No, it's just Pac-Man and Miss
Miss
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Pac-Man. Okay.
Galaxy,
Yes. And
Donkey Kong.
when she was pregnant, she would go to that Texas Tom's right off state and order a tenderloin and play video
Ooh, a
games.
tenderloin so sound good right now.
That's fried meat. I know. I don't even know what kind of meat a tenderloin even is.
I think it's pork.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I have a chef
Isn't a
that's
tenderloin mystery meat? Is that real meat?
we don't know.
Mr. Walker's like, that's mystery. D, don't ever eat that again, please.
Well, you know what? I have a craving for something bad because I have a chef that's cooking for me, and he has taken out all the sugar, all the meat. And I don't like
you
it.
doing? Wait a minute. That ain't even keto. Keto's no sugar plus meat. You don't
have
get
no
sugar
sugar
or
or no
meat.
meat.
What's left?
I don't know.
Oh, vegetables.
Vegetables. But I just want to let
Oh.
everybody know that I have lost like 10 pounds since May, but I am so unhappy.
Okay. But that's good. Here's the thing though, D. When it comes to diets, do not do anything. I need for our listeners to pay attention. Do not do anything on a diet that you cannot see yourself doing for the rest of your life. Or when you get back to it, you just gonna gain back all the weight. D, you gonna go the rest of your life without sweets.
No.
Because Christmas is coming up. Pies,
Thanksgiving is coming up.
cake. I'm tripping. I forgot Thanksgiving. Pies, cake,
And I
more
love
pies and cake.
sweets. You know, we love candy.
Yes. D, don't put that in your mouth right now. Please, you're going to be smacking in the microphone. D, control yourself. Control yourself.
I gotta have it.
Where's this person who's supposed to be helping you? Clearly, he does not watch the show. you just relapsed on the show. Oh my God, D, you just said that you are not supposed to be eating sugar. You grabbed candy. I'm gonna move the candy over.
Yes.
Over here because
Oh,
you
that tastes so
relapsed.
good.
You relapsed on the air.
For everyone to sing. For everyone to sing.
Okay, we do not have time for but except one of these mental health and illness in the news
Because of
stories.
JP's ADHD.
Okay. Your candy that was crazy. Okay, so Kanye West, I was unaware that George Floyd, he initially
We're not going to talk about this. It's going to make me mad. I remember what he said about him.
he initially marched with Black Lives Matters, gave money to George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, to the families, and even gave an undisclosed amount of money to pay for George Floyd's daughter's college education. That was in 2020. Now,
And then he went and did what?
he is being sued by George Floyd's child's mother because he basically said that those police officers did not kill him.
They did not do nothing wrong. Yeah.
He stated that, quote, the guy's knee wasn't even on his neck like that. Saying that despite the fact that the video clearly showed that murder. He also went on to say that Floyd died from fentanyl, not the brutality established criminally. And so he has totally
Let's
flipped.
talk about how crazy he is.
Oh, we've talked about the crazy. Like he's clinically insane.
Most definitely.
I mean, and
I think his mom pushed
admitted
his
to being
mom
psychotic.
dying, like pushed him over the top. I believe so.
well,
Think about it.
I think his mother was probably a barrier keeping the crazy in.
Keeping it crazy.
But if she was the only person that he respected, and she passed away,
unexpectedly, too.
there's no limits, no boundaries.
Just
now.
let him all out.
It's all coming
he came out in the field.
But a lot of it is mental illness. And, I won't go deep into it because we covered it on the podcast last night. So anybody who wants to know, I broke it all down diagnostically. Anybody can check out the alpha male perspective. But what is interesting about this is that he, on top of this, they're suing for like $250 million.
And they need to.
They sure do. They sure do. And suing him, he's also doing this White Lives Matters thing. Like he's anti-black at this point. Anti-black. And so it's unfortunate. I hope they win that lawsuit. And I think they will, because normal society is so sick and tired of this man that any judge is going to be like, they going to get that money because
Keep
he's
your
so
mouth
ridiculous.
off of him. Yeah.
Well, and he's got all the anti-Semitic things coming out right now. The only way to shut a person up is to hit them in the pocket.
Pow.
So really, considering how much money he has, $250 million is a small amount. They should have went for more.
But guess what? He's going to lose some money too. Because he's going to lose a lot of people that was pro him.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
because of the situation, how he's speaking on different situations.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I would never go to a concert. I would never buy any of his, wouldn't stream any of his music. People are not going to want to be in concert with him. He's
People are
Yeah.
getting sued for just being in association with him. Like he went on a podcast and made all these comments about, George Floyd and talked about, there's this documentary that someone put out saying that the whole thing was a lie. And so the host of the podcast is possibly going to get sued also. So it's to the point where if you have him on your show and he says something crazy and he gets sued, you could get sued
You can
too.
get sued also.
So hopefully that will shut down his platform and, outlets for talking crazy. Hopefully. Okay. One more thing. This isn't a mental health story. This is a regular health story. The National Institute of Health has reported. Do you got a perm right now?
Hell no.
Your hair ain't permed right now? Mm-mm. Why is it straight to the roots?
Because this is a wig while you up here trying to talk mess.
Under the wig.
Y'all know the D be wearing wigs while y'all playing.
Oh my God. Under the wig.
Under the wig,
I
I'm looking
know
like
you had a perm.
No, I don't. I'm all natural. I haven't had a perm in over 20 years. I'm allergic to the crack.
Well, listen to this. The crack. Okay. The National Institute of Health has reported that there is a risk of uterine cancer for women who use chemical hair straighteners, perms, on their hair. The risk doubled for those women who permed regularly. They took 39,947 women, 1.64% for women who never used hair straighteners ended up with uterine cancer, and 4.05% for women who frequently perm, which is more than double, ended up with uterine cancer. They did not find any risk with hair dyes, so you can keep dyeing your hair.
Hell yeah, that dye them grays out.
Or with bleach. So if you unbleach it to mix the gray in with the blonde, you're not doing that.
I'm
Okay.
just dyeing it all black.
Well, this is good. You don't perm.
Over 20 years, I was allergic to it.
Okay. Overall, when you think about 4.05% out of 39,947 people, that's a small amount of people. But the fact that it's still twice as many for people who are permanent. And guess what the risk was for people with jerry curls? They didn't get into that.
I mean, that's another thing. All the men in our class that had jerry curls are all bald now, too. Did you have a jerry curl, Gerald?
We've been through this on the show multiple times. One, I did. Two, you see I ain't got no hair. Although that's not a mental health story, I know that because they did talk about this is primarily a risk for African American women. They're talking about hair straighteners. They're not talking about what Caucasian women use when they perm because they end up curly. So, we got two different definitions of perm. But I wanted to discuss that so that women can be careful.
And all these ladies that's out here that are, and this is not the views from KUAW Radio. This is only the view from Stacy D. Just because you're natural do not mean you do not have to comb your hair. You look a funky mess.
D. But you're right. I was going to say, I don't know if you should say that. What's the comedian that got in trouble for confronting women on the bonnets? Remember we covered that?
That was Monique.
That was Monique. Okay.
And I do not go out the house with a bonnet on.
And the D is saying, please, you can go all natural. But
comb
please,
your hair.
Comb it. If you got to get one of those pics with the fist on the end like
so
this from the 70s. And it got to have that black power fist on the end.
Yes.
Because any other pick is going to break on your all natural hair, okay?
Yes. And also, I'm doing this out to these young men, too. That really bothered me when I'm seeing these young men with these, I just hurt my grandson's feelings. Because he has these little things looking on his head. Look like somebody been sucking on it or something.
Twisties?
Yeah, it's not right.
He's got twisties.
Yeah,
little
like
twisties.
Now they big because they hanging down now.
Oh, okay. Little twisties.
I'm not into none of that neither. I'm just my boys.
Did you say it looked like cats been sucking on it?
Somebody been sucking on it. My boys had skin fades. I'm sorry, but that's. I guess
they not doing
the
skin
way,
fades anymore, D.
This is the my boys still do. My sons.
They're old, but the teenagers are not. They not playing that skin fade mess.
They're just walking around and not combing their hair. Ain't got the nerve to get a fade.
Okay, D. Let's get to the question of the day. Okay, because this will be a good debate. Who comes first? My children or my spouse? Here's the reason why we're talking about this. this comes up in therapy a lot. Oh yeah. But here's what's interesting. It comes up with couples who have a different perspective. Because what I have noticed over the years is that you have people who are like, my kids come first. And then you have people who are like, my spouse comes first. And as long as people marry like-minded people, it's not an issue. This is not an issue for me and my wife because we are like-minded on this as far as who comes first. But people who get married to people, and clearly they didn't have this conversation before they got married, and it ends up being a major issue because if someone who is kids first marries someone who is spouse first, it ends up a really big problem. They end up in therapy, and sometimes they end up divorced. And so that's why I wanted to talk about this. I was seeing a couple, and it just became a big old ordeal. So D, what is your perspective? Who comes first, children or spouse?
Okay, now we have to look at this because it's layers to this. When my children were young, I purposely did not remarry because I just felt as though that my whole life was dedicated to now, I dated. Don't get it twisted. I dated and I did other things. Okay.
Other things was done.
Other things were done. But I was not trying to get married.
Not in the house with the kids?
Not in the house with the kids. I went to their house.
Don't bring that mess up in the house with the kids.
For me working at the community mental health center in sexual abuse, just knocked everything out.
Right.
But I just want to really dedicate it to my children. I just want to really dedicate my life to my children and my craft and my education because I wanted to build on that because I knew I was going to be the hierarchy in my family. So I wanted to be able to do a good platform for everybody. So, because when you have a whole husband, it just takes away from stuff. So yeah, I just really just poured into my children and myself.
This is interesting, D, because it sounds like what you're saying is you believe that the spouse comes first, but because you were unable to put a spouse ahead of your kids, your option was, I just ain't gonna get married until my kids are grown.
Until my kids are grown.
That is a good solution.
Yes, it is.
Now, it doesn't help
That's
married couples
to be
who are
selfless
in therapy because they've already gotten married and they're mad that they didn't know that they had this difference of opinion. But for those of you who are not married yet, if you are a kids first person, you would need to not get married until your kids are grown. Okay, so
now let me tell you now,
because I'm about to get to the word.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Listen, because he done got a couple of Bible scriptures. Now you trying to go to the
I
word.
got them from my sister. I didn't know the scriptures.
But I had already. But I said it when we first sat down. I spoke on it. Now, since I'm at the age that I am now, and my baby's 33 years old, I just want to be about me and my husband.
Well, your kids are grown.
Yeah, my kids are grown. I just want to be about me and my husband. And out of the house. Yeah, and if they the baby girl's in the house.
Well, yeah, okay.
But I don't even want her in the house. Like, I feel as though that me and my husband should set up a certain amount of money in our bank account that if they fall on hard times, hold on, we're gonna pay your rent for 3 months while you get yourself together, because we don't want nobody up in here. Because we want to run around the house buck naked, be on the countertop doing what we want to do and all that. Doing what we do. I really want to live this life, especially while I'm of age. I still have my health.
Right.
This is what I want to do with my husband. So I don't want to put no kids first. So that means that I need to get a husband. I already done it. And that means that I have to, a man that comes to me, that picks me, he really needs to have older children.
True. Grown kids. Right.
18 and above.
Okay, so, and hopefully my sister will call in because she's probably going to want to debate this. Although I don't think she followed it, but she sent me the scripture. According to Genesis 2:24.
And this is the Old Testament.
And we live in the day. She's the one that told me we live in the days of the New Testament. So why she send me this Old Testament scripture? I shouldn't even read
because
it.
it's in the Old Testament.
I shouldn't even read it.
But gonna read it because she gonna get mad at you because she went and found it for you.
Stephanie Payne, don't send me Old Testament scriptures after you the one that told me we live in the days of the New Testament. Okay, so Old Testament says the wife comes first. If you become one flesh, you become one person in thought and deed. Now, here's the problem. I am not a spouse first person, and my wife ain't either. If you ask her, who come first? JP or Sashi Boo?
Sasha Pooh.
She gonna immediately, Sashi Boo. And if they ask me, Sashi Boo. But we don't have this conflict because we're both kids first people. Those who are spouse first need to marry people who are spouse first. Now, here's what I want to debate on this. I understand that the word says this, but I don't think this is what Jesus did.
Maybe not.
Jesus, the Lord. Mr. Walker's laughing. Put his children first, all of us, including the ones who killed him. Now, there's a debate on whether or not the Lord had a wife. But here's the thing. The fact that it's a debate and it's not a fact means that either I'm right that the Lord just didn't even take a wife, did what you did, D. Because Jesus, I got to focus on my kids, okay? Because I ain't got a lot of time.
And then I'm going to let you finish and saying what you're saying, but I have something else I want to speak on.
Okay. The Lord either chose to not take a wife so that he could focus on all of us, his children, or if he did, she clearly didn't come first because we ain't even sure that he did or not. So she clearly was not first because we don't even know if he had a wife. And so even though this scripture from the Old Testament is saying that, I don't think that's what Jesus did. You know what? I'd rather do what Jesus did as opposed to, the reason why is because kids do not choose to be born. We choose to bring them into the world, and they are helpless. They don't come in the world able to support and take care of themselves. So I don't agree with them not coming first. Now, once they grown, like you saying, D, look, you grown, you need to go now. I got a spouse up in here and I need you to go somewhere and I'm going to pay your rent for 3 months. That's the D because I need for my son to not, because I'm not doing it.
He's not doing that. But if it's either you coming home, you being homeless, or I pay your rent, I'm going to pay your rent.
Yeah, and this is interesting because a couple of months ago, I did tell one of our kids that, listen, you probably just need to come on home. I didn't
but
think
y'all
about
still
it.
have Sasha Pooh there too.
Well, we still got side. Yeah.
No, see, I'm trying to get no one there.
Right.
Okay, so now we're gonna go back to me real quick, you
Okay,
guys.
let's go back.
Okay, so first of all, when we start getting into the Bible and reading scriptures and stuff, I always pray and ask the God to give it to the way that it needs to be given to me.
Ooh, interpretation.
His interpretation.
Yes.
Okay, so when I read that, I have to put along with another scripture about the husband is supposed to, most definitely cleave to his wife, and then also that the husband is supposed to lead his family.
Okay.
So, and you can't have a double-minded husband. He has to mean what he says and say what he means. So the wife is supposed to go off of what the husband says. So if the husband is like a child first, our family's going to be child first, then the wife needs to line up, and yes, we're going to be children first.
So they shouldn't be fighting over it. Dang. Ooh, that was good. That was good. For my clients who are Christians and the word comes up, somehow the word usually does not come up when couples are fighting about this. But for those, if they do, that's what I'm going to bring to
the man is supposed to lead. And maybe he might see a way that it's still children's first, but sometimes we as women, we get outlandish with the things that we do, and especially us women with our sons.
True.
And men with their daughters.
True. Right.
And sometimes if the men can sort of, we sit down and we balance it out. I mean, that was one good thing that was my ex and I, we were really good on we was really good with that, with the kids and stuff. I guess it was some good things with it.
Well, here's something. Because, my sister, she sent this scripture. And she needs to call in so I can argue with her about this. The number to call into the show, 816-599-6893. In case you want to call in, because our mother was kids first. I remember our mother, who was a widow for years, and a man she was dating proposed to her. And she was considering marrying him, but he made a comment that when the kids turn 18, they need to get out. And my mother's perspective was, well, they can get out if they're prepared to get out. If they're not prepared and ready to get out, they're not going anywhere. And he disagreed with that. We never saw him again. And so I think that's why I'm kids first, because when my mother would tell me all these different stories and everything, it was just natural for me to identify what is the lesson, what is the life lesson in this. And that's what I took. Plus I grew up feeling like we came first, period.
I'm actually going to tell you a little story about my son, my oldest son. My oldest son had a problem with every man I had. Everyone, even his father. And I was dating this one guy, and he was like so fun, and he was a great provider. This was after my first marriage. And he was a great provider, and I actually used to let him come over and, have dinner with us, watch the game and stuff like that.
Right.
I guess the gentleman that I was dealing with said something. He tried to correct my son. My son went ballistic, and he told the guy, "You ain't gonna be here too much longer. Watch this." He comes upstairs. "Mama, he got up in my face." "Oh, hell no!" I done pulled my gun out on him, what you will not do.
Oh, my God.
And he was like, "I didn't do nothing. I just said something to him. I didn't do nothing. And let me tell you, this was after my first marriage, and he was a great provider. But
wow,
oh boy was cut. And then, like, I think maybe my oldest son is 38. So probably when he turned 30, he came and confessed. He was like, "Mom, I just didn't like him. He was a good dude. I'm sorry now, because he probably would have been the best dude for you."
Wow.
But he was getting too close. And I didn't want him coming up in here infringing on our stuff.
Because they had a mindset of we come first.
We come first. And he knew
how to get rid of that man.
And he did it.
Wow. That's something. That is so funny. You ain't gonna be here for long.
You ain't
Watch
gonna be
this.
here for long. Watch this.
He knew his mama.
He knew him. He still know his mother.
Okay, let's get to our next question. Shouldn't I be my spouse's best friend? Now, here's the scripture. You let me know if this is Old Testament again, because it probably is. Ephesians.
That's new.
5:20. Oh, this heifer done sent some New Testament. Okay. I'm going to have to really focus this time. Again, you are one. So, yes, your spouse should be your best friend. She also, cited Ephesians 5:23 through 33 and Ephesians 6:1. Okay.
I love the book of Ephesians.
Clearly, my sister does too, because she done sent half the book.
It's a very common book.
Okay. And so here's the reason.
Are you finished gonna read the rest of the things, or what? She didn't give you the verses?
It's a lot of, it's 10, 12. No,
okay.
We're not reading all that. We don't have enough time for that. So this is why this came up, because I see couples sometimes, and it's not that they're jealous and they think, okay, my husband is having relations with his female best friend. Sometimes I have couples who are like, no, it's not that I think that he's doing something with his friends. I'm just saying that it hurts my feelings that I'm not his best friend. Because I even had a couple where the man had a male and a female best friend. And the wife was like, no, this isn't about sex. I'm supposed to be the best friend. And so according to this scripture, I guess, that my sister sent, your spouse is supposed to be your best friend. But here's my thoughts. I don't think that we're able to consciously decide that, okay, you're my spouse and now you're my best friend. That's something that comes from the inside.
I agree.
And here's something else. This is my other thought. I'm glad you agree with this. My other thought is I don't think the two relationships can even be compared, friend and spouse. And what I have told couples in the past, I told one gentleman, I said, explain to your wife that yes, you have your best friend, but she's the one that you chose to commit to your life with,
to
spend your life with her, building a family, having children's, building y'all's little, household, and like you're spending your entire life with her. She is getting so much more than what your best friends are getting. I think that best friends are important because I think that our friends fulfill certain needs within us and our spouse fulfills certain needs within us. I would never tell my wife that she shouldn't have her best friends. Like I'm going to fulfill whatever internally she gets from her friendships.
Exactly.
It's hard enough fulfilling what I'm supposed to fulfill as a husband. I ain't trying to be all her girlfriends too.
No, and there's two different types of relationships.
It's two totally different types.
We are friends. We are friends.
Yes,
but I'm also your wife, and you're also my husband. But there's things like you just said. There are things I'm gonna need to speak with my girlfriends about that I'm not gonna be able to speak to you about.
Right. And there is room in your heart,
yes,
for both of them.
Yes, most definitely.
And this is the reason why
I wouldn't know what to do without my best friends.
Right.
I would be like really lost. Even when we get into it, when I went on my friendcation, I really did miss them.
There you go. And what I want people to remember is that when it comes to that type of jealousy and insecurity, it's almost as if you are forgetting that there is room in the human heart to love many people.
Many people.
So you don't have to be all selfish and greedy. Get rid of your friends. They ain't your best friend.
So you just think I'm supposed to sit up here and I would get tired of you up in my face every day. I mean, really have your fun outside and come on house and then we have our fun. And I mean, that's how we're going to have a healthy relationship because you need many relationships.
Yes.
Many relationships.
And friendships, they speak to a side of us that needs to be spoken to and nurtured. I remember my wife used to, before we had Sasha, when we just had the boys, she would have girls' night out every week.
Oh, every week?
Every week it was either on Wednesday or Thursday.
Dang, we don't never have friends weeks no more.
And me and the boys, it'd just be us. So we would have like leftover buffet. We'd pull all the food because, she cooks every day. And so we'd pull all the food out and they'd be able to mix whatever. I didn't care. You want pancakes and mashed potatoes? That's what you can have. And they loved it. And we would have a good time. It'd be boys' night. And so I was like, yes, go out with your girlfriends. I see men who they struggle like she hanging out with her girlfriends. What do you think they doing? Like, why are you jealous and concerned that your wife is out with her best friend? Like, what could they possibly be doing that you all insecure? But you hang out with your best friend.
Because evidently he might not be doing what he needs to do at home.
Because, true. And a lot of times, if you have a spouse, now we're going to get into the jealousy, like, ooh, they might be cheating. If you have a spouse who accuses you of cheating a lot and you've never cheated, that is a sign that they probably are. because cheaters are quick to accuse someone else of cheating because they are functioning from the mindset of a cheater and they apply it to everybody else.
Exactly. And then if you have a hot spouse, it's good because if don't nobody else want them, why do you want them?
Right. Which I have said. It's like, okay, you was attracted to your spouse, but now you want them to be toe down and you don't want them to look good for anybody. Now they supposed to be like broke down.
Exactly.
Which is ridiculous.
And while we're on the air and have 2 minutes, I just want to give out a special thanks. Thank you for those beautiful red roses that I received in my office this week.
Uh-oh.
You know who you are.
Oh, you know who you are. Who was it? Don't
And
say
they sent a whole dozen. See, I have had men to send me a half a dozen, but I got a whole dozen.
Long stem or short stem?
Long.
Ooh, long stem.
You might get another date.
That's the big money. Do you enjoying dating, aren't you?
It's really a lot.
But it seems like you having a good time.
I am. I have like about 8 guys. It's really a lot.
I think we need to try out the Facebook dating app.
No more! I can't handle no more, you guys. It's a lot. But I'm enjoying myself.
We probably need to wrap it up on that note because those who watch the show regularly know we had a fiasco with the stupid dating apps. Some of them men are probably still watching the show.
No, there's still like I'm getting my DM has over 80 messages.
You didn't close down the app, did you?
The app is closed down, but they don't went and hunted me down on Facebook. Because my Facebook name is Stacy D.
Stacy D. Let's consider it because there's a possibility that it might go better through the Facebook app.
Okay, we're gonna put that on the table. But right now,
She tried to do it.
we'll put it on the table. It's on the table.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. That is our show for today. And remember, worry about nothing.
And pray about everything. I love you, friend Michelle. Bye-bye now.